9 minutes before 7 o'clock, Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You can chime into the show on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line 479-5551, 479-5551. David Sampson, he of CBS Sports and the Nothing Personal podcast. He will join us in 10 minutes to talk about the baseball players and owners and what a glorious relationship they have these days. We had a poll question over the weekend.
I don't want to talk about
it. Which got very much to the heart of a matter. And Mark and I were on opposite sides of the poll question. I did not feel passionately either way. Mark, as you could tell, felt very passionately.
I'd rather not talk about it.
The poll question was simply, when you play golf, do you prefer to gamble? Yes or no?
Pansies. Whole audience. Half the audience sucks.
And those of you that just happen to see it my way.
Let's just go out and play 9 holes. Let's hit a mulligan, too. No, that's good. Doesn't matter. You know what? Put a 4 down on the card. Why would I care what your score is? We're just out here to have fun and take in nature.
Now, I don't believe any of that's on the poll question. I believe that you are taking
I
something
interpreted it.
And you are running. Yes.
I interpreted it.
Boy, are you ever. My goodness. Talk about taking something and running with it. Man. I mean, once again, the question could not be any more simple and straightforward.
Answer the question.
Well, and people did. You just
bunch of
don't like the answer.
I don't.
51% of you prefer not to gamble.
What happened to my audience?
Well,
what happened to you?
49%. I mean, Mark, this is a Florida election after all. I mean, it's going to end up 51-49.
Well, you know what? With these numbers, David, I'm going to have some sort of court order and a recount.
Well, you know, unfortunately for you, Mark, Miami-Dade County did not come in hard enough, late enough for you to win. So, but it's pretty close to 50-50. Slight edge to prefer not to gamble, just prefer to play.
Let's just go out and play golf.
No, really, there's, yes, for
you
the sport.
Let's just go out and hit some balls.
Yes, first off, some people are cheap. Secondly, most people are not good at golf. And so that's why they don't want to put money on it.
What does that have to do with anything?
They have a hard enough time breaking 90 or 100 or whatever the case may be. They don't need to put any pressure on themselves. So that's all. Simple question.
As Starman just said to me on Twitter, half do suck. That's why they don't bet, LOL.
Boy, guys are taking this. You know, now I have no problem betting, but my vote was no. Do I prefer to gamble? No, I just prefer to play. You know, if all of a sudden we're going to gamble, okay, fine. All right. But I'm not a huge golf gambler. Never was. Even when I was good at it. Even when I played a lot. Was not a huge gambler when it came to golf. Maybe it's because I lost big a couple times.
I reserved all the comments I had because I just think it would be inappropriate to throw those out right now. I think I've said my piece on gambling, and I'm just going to move forward and let's talk baseball.
Wow. Boy, taking this defeat well, are you? Huh. So.
I feel like Dewey.
Not sure what the poll question is going to be for today. All right. We're thinking about making it about wearing masks. Mark think it'll be too one-sided.
Yeah, I look at it. Because I started the show out. I was verklempt yesterday. I run to Costco where you are required by their store rules to wear a mask. And I have no problem with that. I don't like wearing masks, but when I go there, I put it on. I wear it the entire time I'm there.
Why? Because it's the rules.
It's the rules. If I want to shop there, I have to wear a mask. Right. And there were all kinds of people inside that basically wore their masks to get through the door and then took it off. And that bothered me.
And you want to be the mask police.
I do.
Just like you want to be the 10 items in line police.
I am that. I have no problem counting someone's items in line. Loudly. I have been told by my favorite moment in that is a lady looked at me and she goes, "You're rude." I went, "You can't count." Made my whole week.
I was going to say, we could have an intellectual discussion as to what's more rude, me counting your 16 items or you having them.
Right.
I mean, we could. In fact, you know what? Maybe that's the poll question today. What's more rude, counting someone's 16 items in the 10-item line or having them to have 16 items
Yes.
in the 10-item line?
I'm with you.
I think that's a fair question.
So yeah, I wanted to become the mask police yesterday. I didn't say a word. I was at the grocery store twice over the weekend, and I laughed my tail off. This young girl on Saturday when I was getting some stuff at the grocery store, she just said, I happened to be next to them, and she said to her mom, she goes, "You know why I don't like this mask?" Mom just said, "Why?" She goes, "Well, I can't tell if people are smiling or not." And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? You're right. What a great observation." I know that surprises you coming out of my mouth, David.
Miller and Moulton. David Sampson next.
Attention, Southwest Florida.
Can't believe at Costco you went, "That's a dadgum good point."
Only Naples Nissan will give you $8,000 over.
Made the mom's day.
For your trade-in. Hundreds of new SUV models to choose from, all backed by our exclusive unlimited mile lifetime.
So apparently the Ohio State waiver
warranty.
is not a liability waiver.
Then come
It's
see us
just
on
a
Highway
ground
12 to
rules
find out
waiver.
the KBB.com current
That's all right,
price
David.
for your
I know he
trade-in.
changed his date, but the president made people sign up to show up at his rally in Tulsa that he was going to go to where, they killed a bunch of black people 100 years ago, and he thought it'd be a good idea to have a rally there.
If KBB says 10,
Well,
we'll give you 18.
he did change the date.
You must act
He
fast.
didn't change the date.
I do.
His
I do
people
think it is.
changed.
Well, whatever.
Offer on select
I
models
mean,
with approved credit and cannot be combined.
I do think it's interesting
Work for you.
that
know how it works, right?
We do this for you.
It's not
I do think
often
it's
that you
interesting
get
that they're making you
somebody who
sign
you
a
respect.
waiver to go to it.
We give you the
That's very
information you
interesting.
need.
Every single day there's a news story.
We got a story.
We've been working on that all morning long.
I mean,
We do
I
this
really
all
think
for
sports,
Which is how the
I mean, if the president of the United States can do it
Sports Radio.
to attend a rally, don't you think sports? And I think the rally's free.
Correct. No, they're all free. There's
Right.
never been a
And
rally
so-
that you have to pay to.
Right. So,
Dan Martineau here.
So,
Well,
by
but
the
I
way, I
mean-
didn't bring this up on air, but David, before that Australian rules football game on I guess it was Sunday afternoon, late Saturday night, U.S. time, do you know what every player and both coaches did before the Australian anthem?
they kneel.
All of them. Every single mother effer on the field.
Hoops in the hallways, battling in the break room, and target practice in the
Different
yurts.
times.
WFSX AM from the Rock to downtown Fort Myers. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health, C4MH.com.
Call David Sampson.
Calling David Sampson.
Look at me using Siri at 7 a.m. Huh?
Look at that.
Good morning.
Morning, David. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Fantastic.
Going on in about 45 seconds, my friend.
I appreciate it. It'll be fun as always.
I did laugh yesterday, David. I had a couple of buddies over. It was National Bourbon Day, so we had a little tasting at the house. And one of them is of my friends. He's my biggest baseball fan friend. And my co-host, who is adamant that he hates this shortened season, I just asked my buddy, I said, what do you think if they play 50, 60 games? He goes, I don't care. Just play. Can you please play? Can we have baseball? We've kind of been, David and I have been anti-80 games or less. And talking to a baseball fan, he's like, I don't give a damn if they play 50 games. Just play.
25 hours of programming a week.
I think that's accurate.
Yep, it was enlightening to me, that's for sure.
A week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past 7 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Ron Cyrack to talk a little golf 1 hour from now. It's a pleasure to welcome back former president of the Marlins. He's with the CBS Sports family. He has a daily podcast called Nothing Personal. Check it out. He's David Sampson. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. David, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
We are doing well. What do you do if you're Rob Manfred today? The players have said, we're done. We're calling your bluff. We're done negotiating, whatever the deal is. Just tell us where and when to report and how many games we're going to play. So what do you do if you're Rob Manfred today?
Well, pragmatically, I've arranged for an owner's call, so I've got 30 owners on the phone, and we're going to have to take a vote, and I've been canvassing the owners, so I have an understanding of what I'm dealing with, my electorate. So I have 8 owners who are going to vote no to the implementation of a season. If I do, then I'm going to postpone a vote because I'm going to have to work on getting that number down because I cannot publicly say today that the season has been canceled because 8 owners don't want to play. So let's assume that there are fewer than 8 who are going to say no. I get the owners on the phone. I say, listen, it is our suggestion here at the Commissioner's office that we start the season on July 22nd. We play 53 games. We end September 27th, and we play the full playoffs in October. And we're going to offer this to the players. If they say no, then we are going to implement it in time to have spring training start in the next 7 days. That's what I'm doing today.
Help me out, David, because the one part of this that I think people are not, at least I have trouble with, is that throughout this, baseball's kind of said, yeah, we can do whatever we want. How important is that part of the negotiations? They've gone back and forth, but baseball has kind of said, yeah, we can still tell you to show up. So why are we negotiating, David?
Because what the owners and the players were trying to do was to play more games. What the owners have the ability to do is say to the players, we will play whatever number of games we say, but for those games, you will get paid your full pro rata salary. But if you're willing to play more games and take a smaller percentage of your full pro rata salary, you could still make more money because we'll play more games, but you won't make as much per game as you would if we play fewer. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense, but David, and granted, you've been a management guy, but the players never play for less than 100% pro rata. Why should they do so now?
Oh, I'm not on any side right now. I'll tell you that my view is that there is a misunderstanding over the March 26th agreement between the players and the union. The players believe that there was nothing more to negotiate, that they were getting their pro rata salaries. And the letter, the agreement actually says that there has to be another negotiation. And the union did a bad job of explaining to its members what that meant. And so Scott Boras and several other people stood up and said, the players will never take a dollar under the full pro rata salary. And that's what the agreement says. And the players believe that, but they're really wrong about that.
Why are they wrong, David?
Because the legal document doesn't actually say that. The legal document gives the ability for the owners to have another negotiation over salaries if there are going to be no fans in the stands. And that's all baseball was trying to do, to have another negotiation. Now, I grant you, I understand that it's billionaires and millionaires and no one wants to hear it, but this is a normal sort of back and forth that goes on in a very abnormal circumstance. There's never been a situation in history where there's so much economic uncertainty for both the players and for the owners. Therefore, it is irresponsible of either side to give too much right now because you just don't know what it's going to look like on the other side of this pandemic.
Talking baseball with David Sampson, former president of the Marlins. He works for CBS Sports. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. Make sure you download his daily podcast, Nothing Personal. Well, you talk about economic uncertainty. Major League Baseball just tentatively reached a deal with Turner Broadcasting yesterday. It goes into effect in 2022, in which they're going to get 40% more for their Turner baseball package going forward than what they're getting now. They signed a long-term deal last year with Fox in which they were going to get, I think, 20% more going forward in the 2020s than what they were getting previously. It doesn't sound like economic uncertainty to me.
Yeah, so let's do the math on that because that's another bit of great strategy by the union to get that number out there because it makes everyone think, wow, the owners are awash in money. So let's just talk. I ran a team for 18 years. So we get information given to us, say, hey, we have a national TV deal, and you are now going to get another $300 million a year as an industry. We're signing a multi-billion-dollar extension. How great is this? That's the commissioner's office talking. So I would send an email to the head of broadcasting. Dear John Doe, could you please tell me exactly the number of millions of dollars that will be distributed to the Miami Marlins starting in 2022 solely because of the increase in this TV deal? The response would then be, well, we don't have that exact information for you yet. So what am I getting at, my friends? We don't know how many millions of dollars will be given to each team by the league. The most it can be, what I've read, let's say it's another $200 or $300 million. Say an extra $300 million a year, which it's not, but say it is. That's $10 million per club if all of it is distributed. And in my experience in 18 years, there's never been a time where every dollar of revenue that Central Baseball gets is distributed to the clubs. So as the team president, I say to my owner, all right, I think we're going to have another $8 million to play with for payroll, which means we can have an $80 million payroll instead of a $72 million payroll. That's the reality of that TV deal.
Look at David, all of this, and you've acknowledged it as well. These negotiations in 2020 have more to do with the new CBA than anything else. What of the things that is happening now concerns you the most as far as getting a deal done in the next 2 years that's going to help baseball for a decade?
A second wave of coronavirus where there's a second shutdown, any sort of interruption in the 2021 season, any part of the 21 season without fans, any sort of change in consumer spending or consumer habits as it relates to being in large areas, indoor or outdoor stadiums, any sort of delay in the economic recovery that could lead to a continued downturn in corporate sponsorship or disposable income by the individual. Those things are very important in what I'm looking at because those will impact the next collective bargaining agreement because then owners will have a better idea of the uncertainty and players will get it too. So that worries me.
David, if you were running things, would you play this year?
I've been wrestling with that. And you're the first person who's asked me with all of the interviews and all the shows I do. I think about that almost every day because there are fans who just want to see baseball and there are fans who are fine with 40 games or 80 games or 100 games. They just want to see sports because it makes them feel normal when there's been such a period of lack of normalcy. And anything that can make you feel good is what you want. So the answer is I would. But from a health standpoint, I'm very worried about the players. I'm worried about the staff. I'm worried about managers and coaches and owners. And I'm worried about fans because I'm walking around Florida and it seems as though people think that everything's fine, yet there's more new cases every day than ever before practically. And so I worry about all those things and how responsible I would feel if I had a baseball game and forget somebody getting hit by a foul ball and losing a tooth or having a headache. But if someone gets corona and dies or just has diminished lung capacity because of my selfish behavior, that would be tough to live with.
David, is that your selfish behavior? And I mean, this is my real question with this. And David and I have struggled with this. We buy tickets. No one's forcing anyone to go to a sporting event. We've opened up airlines. We've opened up restaurants. And whether that's right or not is really not the question. Why is the baseball team responsible, or the college football team, or the pro football team, or whomever, for someone buying a ticket to come to an event that you're hosting?
Boy, you're bringing up something that we can go way deeper, but are tobacco companies responsible for putting ingredients into a cigarette that make it addictive? Are opioid companies responsible when they make their products addictive? What about just sugar companies?
Well,
when
but
soda
the
is
first
addictive?
two, David, I will say that we can prove that they were not truthful in what they were saying. It's far different right now. The public is pretty well aware of the problems, whether they listen to them or not, of the coronavirus. What I'm asking is, if I pay $22 for a Marlins ticket to sit in the stands, how are you liable for me buying that ticket?
Well, you're talking legal liability versus moral conscience, right? So you're definitely going to be signing something when you come into my private stadium, and you're definitely I'm going to make sure that you can't sue no matter what in this great litigious society. But I was also talking moral conscience as well. But the answer is, people want what they want, and my job has always been, that's why this is so hard. For 18 years, my job was to give you what you want. You want baseball? We want to put on a baseball game. We want to put on 3 hours of entertainment, sometimes 4 hours of entertainment. It's just a different world right now. And I'm not saying that I understand or I'm in favor of what Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard are saying. I think sports is important to come back just as much as travel and stores and restaurants. I think it's important, but under the right safety protocols, and I'm just not sure we know enough to have the right safety protocols yet. So that's my biggest concern.
David, how much, if any? Because I could argue that I really don't know that baseball, it makes for great sports talk radio, and it makes it great for the columnist to talk about how baseball's shooting itself in the foot right now and they've missed a golden opportunity. But I honestly don't know how big the opportunity was, and that once all the other sports get playing, that baseball, if they resume, well, they'll in fact have a more crowded environment than they normally have during the summer. I mean, how big of an opportunity do you feel that the summer of 2020 was for baseball, that it looks as if they have, punted on?
Yeah, I don't at all. Here's why. It's June, I don't know the date, June 6th, June 15th today. So to start July 4th, which is what everyone thought they wanted, the teams would have to be in spring training right now. And I just don't think that there's enough communities around where having baseball spring training with 50, 60 players around, no social distancing. I just don't think that there's an appetite for spring training. I think the real problem was managing expectations of our fan base and saying that July 4th really was a possibility, when I firmly believe neither the union nor the owners thought that July 4th was ever a possibility because of COVID, not because of labor. And I wish that they had just come out and said, you know what, it's probably going to be at best middle to end of July for the start of the season at best, but we're working hard to do it. I wish that would have been the out-facing public sentiment, but it just seems that all these statements back and forth and using the media to try to curry favor with the public, which at the end of the day doesn't mean a thing when it comes to collective bargaining.
Do you think, and I've asked you this before, but as this is going on, how much do you think that these sides are even aware of the impact that they're having to the fans? Because baseball fans getting ticked off about the arguing. You mentioned it earlier, millionaires and billionaires. Are the sides conscious of that at all?
You'd be surprised how Twitter can skew the worldview. So if you're on Twitter all the time, it would seem as though the world is ending and baseball's dying and it's over and everyone's angry. The reality is, if you come back and play games, everyone will be excited for opening day Everyone will be excited for the first couple weeks of regular season, and then it'll be a short season. You'll be in playoffs soon. There's never been an issue with people engaging in playoff baseball. And imagine how great it would be to have playoff baseball along with playoff basketball, along with the regular season of the NFL. It could just be an interesting time for us in sports, and there's no end to what we can consume. But you bring up a point that they do worry about, which is, have people's habits changed enough after this 3 months of quarantine without live sports that people have replaced that allocation of time to the point that they're going to be reticent to give it back up to the activity of watching a sporting event? That's something that every sport is grappling with, and it's a true wait to see.
David, do you think that baseball's playoff structure is going to change forever because of this? Because the thought is that Rob Manfred and the owners are going to implement an extra round of the playoffs. The owners and management make more money from the playoffs, and the networks will gladly show more playoff games. And for this year and next year, in which 8 teams potentially from each league would make the playoffs. Well, then we will have had 2 baseball playoffs with 16 teams making the playoffs, and we'll enter into a CBA negotiation. And oftentimes we don't go back. Do you think baseball's playoff structure is about to permanently change?
So you got me there, and I hope I'm not giving you misinformation, but it is my belief, reading documents, that if baseball implements a season without an agreement, there will not be extended playoffs.
Oh,
the
really?
only way that playoffs would be extended is if there's actually a settlement between the players and the owners. So starting with that as a baseline, your question is, if there are extended playoffs that are agreed to by both sides, is that something that will be continued? And my answer is extended playoffs. We've been talking about that for 10 years in baseball. And having 16 out of 30 teams, that's a little heavy. What we had always talked about was bringing it up to 14 out of 30 and then 16 maybe out of 32 once there's expansion. But I'm just not sure how quickly, given what happened with this pandemic, how quickly expansion is going to happen.
David, final question. You have maintained throughout this that this is just business. This is negotiations. All right. Don't, people like us should not get too emotionally wrapped up in what's going on. The point that now the sides have gotten to, do you think now that some real damage has been done between the two sides and it will affect the 21 CBA negotiations, or no, this is completely separate?
Can I say both and not have you think I'm squirmy? And here's why. The relationship's been deteriorating for 5 years, and this has sort of accelerated the deterioration process. But under all scenarios, the next collective bargaining agreement, if there had been no pandemic, the next negotiation, which would have happened really starting this year because the agreement ends at the end of 21, it would have been very contentious anyway. Do I think there's now an incremental amount of further contentiousness? I do, but that's only incremental. I think the large majority of it already existed.
David, we always appreciate your time and your insight. Thanks for being so generous with us, not just today, but over the months and years, and continued success with CBS and your daily podcast, Nothing Personal.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too, David. Thank you.
Former president of the Marlins. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Sampson, David P. Sampson. Nothing Personal is his daily podcast, and as you can tell, he's a pretty interesting guy. In fact, he's very interesting. And comes at it from a management standpoint, but also able to see both sides. And love having him on. Very insightful. I don't know if it makes you feel any better as a baseball fan.
No. I think it is the opposite more times than not. But, man, I think he cuts through a lot of the BS, if you know what I mean.
Now, that's interesting. The last point he made is that it is his understanding that if Rob Manfred, which the players, if you missed it over the weekend, the players said to the owners, we're done negotiating, all right? You obviously don't want to pay us 100% for the games that we play. We are not playing for anything less than 100% per game. So we're done negotiating. You tell us where and when to show up for spring training, where and when the season's going to start, and how many games we're going to play. And you're going to pay us 100% for however many games you guys determine, and we'll be there. And, and by the way, we'll see you in court. Because that's the other thing that's going to happen here, is that, remember, the agreement that was made in late March, one of the tenets of the agreement, Mark, was both sides would negotiate in good faith to play as many games as possible. Says it right there. So the players, this is like collusion back in the mid-90s. All right. The players, it was, worked out, and, we had the strike and the whole deal, and the players took the owners to court and won hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Now, it took years, but they ultimately won. And the players believe they're going to win again. And they're going to end up getting retroactively, Mark, hundreds of millions of dollars in salary that they're then going to have to, send out to their members, because they believe that the owners are negotiating in bad faith, and that the owners are not living up to the agreement. You heard David Sampson 15 minutes ago say he's seen the agreement that both sides signed. He believes the players are wrong, and that the players in the agreement agreed to have to negotiate again.
Look, regardless of whether what you read as right and whether what David reads is right, I've contested throughout all of this is that baseball's killing itself right now.
And
the
I don't
one
believe
thing that
they are.
I know you don't. And it was, look, I don't know if I'm right. I asked friends that I was with yesterday. 2 of the 3 friends are baseball guys. They both are on my side. We could all be incredibly wrong when it comes to this. And you, in fact, David, probably will be right, because we're saps as people. Eventually we come back and watch. We always have. But, it took steroids and Cal Ripken to bring me back from 94. I'm wondering what it will take to bring someone back this time, David.
Mark, I think baseball's lost so much of its audience that they're down to their base. They're like a political party that is down to their base. Now, it's a pretty good-sized base, and it's in 25 regions around the country. All right. And I don't know what they could do to lose somebody from their base.
Nope. And baseball is largely college football in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Strong as all hell. But once you get outside of the conference, no one's aware of it.
24 minutes past the hour. David Sampson joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Ron Cyrack to talk a little golf coming up at the top of the hour. We'll talk some NBA an hour from now. Pat Kerwin on the show tomorrow. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Kobe Bryant told us this. A ball-centric style is exhausting, and by the time you get to the playoffs, you just don't have much left in the tank. James Harden has lost his legs in the playoffs over and over and over. He goes through droughts and bad nights. We really don't see much in the regular season. James needs the whistle. Refs don't give you the whistle in the playoffs.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
Trade in and trade up. Over $500,000 in trade-in assistance up for grabs at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease. 0 down. $159 per month. 2020 Kia Sorento LX lease. 0 down. $259 per month. Plus at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers, you can drive interest-free up to 72 months and worry-free for 100,000 miles. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you. New Forte. 0 down. $159 per month. New Sorrentos. 0 down, $259 per month at Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
36-month lease is 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing plus tax, title, dealer, and acquisition fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 0 APR with 0 down with lender approval.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, well, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage, and just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
I'm a busy person.
Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up. Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront.
You know who was listening?
The store is lending a hand to
Andrew Seymour. Andrew Seymour.
And just as we have for a
from Palm Beach.
Yep.
Helping to improve the quality of people's lives. 2 feet.
Did he text you or tweet you?
A private DM'd me and said the Sampson interview was terrific.
Southwest Florida.
And I said, yeah, he's always been great with us.
He's one of my favorite guests.
Only Naples Nissan will.
You know, I forgot who it was years ago that you said, oh, Andrew Brandt. You made the comment on air. You get smarter.
Yep.
When you listen to Andrew Brandt. I feel like I get smarter when I listen to David Sampson.
Yep.
Pick out your favorite at NaplesNissan.com.
This non-bread, by the way, is saving me from maybe an early death.
$8,000 more, so you can drive that brand new
non-bread.
Mm-hmm. N-A-A-N. It's delicious. It's kind of like a pita.
What's it spelled?
N-A-A-N.
Gotcha.
Mediterranean. It's like a pita. Pretty flippin' good.
Huh. Okay.
Offer on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
David, I made baba ganoush yesterday.
If I knew what that was.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
$29 minutes past 7 o'clock, Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Stream this and every show on the station at foxsportsfm.com. We broadcast live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line at 479-5551, 479-5551. Today was the day when. Coming up in 15 or so minutes, and Ron Syrek to talk the Colonial and the return of the PGA Tour coming up right after the top of the hour. We don't have a poll question, you know.
Nope. No, we don't. We don't.
I was thinking something along the lines of the Ohio State waiver, which apparently is not a liability waiver. It's described as a waiver, but it's basically a ground rules waiver that you agree to do what we say concerning the coronavirus. We say you got to wear a mask, got to wear a mask. If we say that, your temperature is a certain amount and you got to sit out practice, you're going to sit out. That basically whatever our coronavirus guidelines are, you agree to them in order to continue to practice and play football here at Ohio State. But it is not a legal liability waiver.
Okay.
It walks right up to the edge of it, but it apparently is not a legal liability waiver.
Yeah. It's asinine. I'm sorry, David. And I know they're all going to sign it because they all think they're going to play in the National Football League. It's a college football.
Have signed it.
I know. It's a college football team that doesn't pay its athletes that's saying you got to sign a piece of paper that says you're not going to sue us.
Well, it doesn't say that, though. It stops just short of that. It just talks about, here are our protocols. This is what you're going to agree to. All right. If we say we're testing you, you agree to get tested. You know, if we say you're going to be quarantined, you're going to be quarantined. That's what they claim that this is.
Okay.
That it stops short of,
I got you.
You agree to not sue us.
I got you. But it also, this goes back to John Harbaugh's comments on Friday. You're trying to put social distancing rules in place in a sport that it's impossible to do it in. I mean, that's, did you see the crap that's going on with the high school sports in the state of Florida? The rules for organized sports, we only have 6 people in the workout room. How in the hell? And I'm sorry. Look, whatever your views are on the coronavirus, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with whether your scientific fact, your personal fears, or whatever they are. We have said this throughout. People are going to make decisions, and I think it's our job as human beings to just let people be people right now. This takes it a step further because they're telling you how you should be. Okay, work out but social distance. Practice football but social distance. It's asinine.
Well, it seems impossible. I mean, we joked about this 3 months ago. Let's just talk about the sidelines. I mean, college football in particular, like it's much easier to do in the NFL. You only got 46 guys that are active on game days. 46.
11 are on the field.
And the other 35 are on the sidelines, and they're spread out over a 50-yard piece of real estate from the 25 to the 25. You can social distance on the sidelines in the NFL. You have over twice as many players on a college sideline.
You can, but what happens on an NFL sideline? You instruct. All the linemen are together.
Right.
Defense or offense, whichever one's not on the field, with their position coach explaining to them what's wrong or what's right.
So, obviously, you and I are not doctors. We didn't sleep on Holiday Inn Select last night. But there's a part of me that wonders, is the best you can realistically do. Now, granted, it's different for a local school district, Mark. I mean, let's be honest. Now we got taxpayer dollars, certainly the threat of lawsuits. If a kid gets sick, the whole deal. I mean, we all know how the real world works. But if we're just talking big time college ball, and if we're talking the NFL, that if you test on a regular basis, and I understand somebody can be asymptomatic. I get it. Okay. But that, to me, the best you can realistically do is every day when they walk in, you test them, or every other day. And if somebody's test results up in the air, you pull them out and you let everybody else walk through and they practice and what have you. I mean, to me, that's seemingly the only way you're going to do that. It's football. We cannot be socially distant from one another. The facilities, even these glorious NFL practice facilities, were not built for social distancing.
No, I mean, the only position that can social distance is the defensive backs who don't want to tackle running backs. They've been social distancing for years when running backs get loose.
I think a kicker and a punter.
Yeah, they social distance. Right. They run away.
Right.
Yes.
The snapper, the holder, the kicker, the punter, those 4 guys, they could do it.
But the long snapper doesn't social distance, David. He's right next to 2 guards.
Well, that's true. I was just thinking kind of like, with the punter.
Practice. I got you. No, I got
just you. But so it does. I mean, John Harbaugh just simply said this seems idiotic.
It's impossible.
So, to me, I think the best you can do is you can test. And if they pass the test, now I understand, we just saw it with a member of the White House staff a few weeks ago, in which she was literally tested on a Wednesday. The results came back Thursday. She was negative. She was tested on a Thursday. She shows up for work on Friday. They tap her on the shoulder and they go, "We're going to have to quarantine you for 2 weeks." She tested positive. And she was like, "Wow, yesterday I was fine." So, that's why I think you might have to be that vigilant. But realistically, now in high schools, they're not going to test that. I mean, this costs money. This costs money. Right. They don't have this kind of money. They can't test like this just to play sports. So,
got this text, David.
I don't know if controversial is the right word, but it's certainly complicated.
479-5551, 479-5551. That is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line. Got this text. A little out there, but I think he thought about it, made a fairly decent point, because a lot of baseball people are wondering whether or not they should even play the sport this summer. I mean, David's one that says just bag it. Seth Everett's been one that says just bag it. Start working on the negotiations for the new CBA and let this season be gone. It's okay.
Yes.
This person says, hindsight being what it is, if baseball had said we just can't be sure what's going to happen with the virus, so we're canceling the season. We will, however, play a short series of all-star games. He says, think fantasy baseball with a group of players, maybe 15 games. They could even play with different rules. In the interim, we'll work together to put the best product out for our fans in 2021. Baseball fans, as a rule, are practical and patient. It could have worked. Just my opinion. I don't even know if they needed to have your 15 games, sir. I think they could have simply come out with what you just said. We don't know what's going on. Therefore, we're canceling the season. I think baseball would be in a lot better light right now than it is by doing what they're doing.
It sounds like the old barnstorming tours.
Yes.
That teams used to do is what was recommended there. I don't think this is as big a deal as it is being made out to be. Now, has baseball missed an opportunity? Yes. July could have been a terrific opportunity for them. I mean, the NBA is not going to start up before July 30th. It looks as if the NHL is not going to start up till early August. I mean, could baseball have had July to themselves for the most part outside of a few races and 4 golf tournaments? Yes. But you know what? Baseball has July to itself every year outside of a few races and a few golf tournaments. And what is baseball made of it? Now, you could argue a more captive audience now and maybe a chance to win some people back. Mark, I don't know how many people watched the 30 for 30 last night, but it was on the summer of 98. It was on McGuire and Sosa. I did not watch.
A lot of complaints of what I read this morning.
Really?
Yeah. Well, our local baseball guy, David, if there were a guy we were to pick to co-host a show for 3 hours to talk baseball in this market, it's Jeff Butera.
Yeah, or Tom Buckley, former Everblade.
I got you.
Friend,
I'd go,
Buckley.
But Butera's in the business, and Tom would be a great talk show host for the record. Terrific, because he's very opinionated. He's very knowledgeable about sports. But Butera is in the industry, and he ripped it to shreds last night.
Interesting.
And he's a big Cub fan. He was mad at who they didn't talk to, who they omitted. Too much media, not enough players. Mark Grace was there the whole time. We're not talking to him. That was kind of his big beef. Like, he sat there front row for this. You don't have Mark Grace on this?
Well, maybe Grace wouldn't cooperate.
Probably. But that was just, in a few others, but that's one that you and I both know. And there were a few others that I've seen panning it pretty well. But
But, the summer of 98 and the whole McGuire-Sosa race, and that aired last night. And, hey, listen, it brought baseball back.
Brought me back.
There's no question about it. I mean, when Sammy hit 20 homers in the month of June, and now all of a sudden, and people forget at the All-Star break that year, Ken Griffey Jr. was on just about the same pace as those two also. I mean, it looked as if we were going to chase Maris and have three guys doing it, representing two leagues. But, I mean, I don't think baseball's missing out on much. I really don't, by going through the debacle of the negotiations that they're going through now. I think that their benefit would have been very short-term, very limited. And in fact, with people not in 100% shape at the beginning of the season, I think you would have seen more pitchers used. All right. I think also you wouldn't have seen the regulars playing 9 innings every day like they normally do. I think they would have had to work their way into that. I'm not saying it would have been a spring training product, but my point being is that for those that have problems with baseball, it's pace, and I'm not so sure that when we start back up here that those problems are going to be alleviated at all. So I wonder just what the appeal would be. Now, Mark, heck, you've got racing. You're falling in, I don't know, love, but you're falling in like with racing. I mean, heck, even your wife's paying attention to it. The ratings
Nothing worse than that, for the record, David. Nothing worse than that.
Than the wife watching racing?
Yeah, because now she's asking questions. I don't know what the damn answers are.
Well, it'll probably only happen a couple times, though. Once you can't help her, I mean, it's, now if she picks up the phone and calls your son, then you got real issues. Then you've got big problems. But my guess is that this too shall pass.
I certainly hope so.
Miller and Moulton. Speaking of the golf tournament, Ron Syrak will join us in 20 minutes to talk about the Colonial, how it went, and now they're heading to Hilton Head for the Heritage. We'll talk a little NBA with Keith Smith coming up at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, in which, it's LeBron against Kyrie. And we're going to find out who wants to play. And some guys may just sit it out. Nope, not coming back, not interested. Okay. All right. I'm fine with that, by the way. Are you okay with that?
Guys not playing?
That could be a poll question. Are you okay if an NBA, NHL, or MLB player decides to sit out the rest of the season because of the coronavirus? Are you okay with it?
I think we're okay with that. Now, the NBA is not necessarily because of the coronavirus why people are wanting to sit out.
No, that's true.
That's a very different thing. And I don't know how I look at. I'll say it again. I'll state the obvious. I'm a 50-year-old white guy. Kind of tough to chime in on this. But these athletes, whether you like it or not, have a tremendous platform. If they don't play, don't they remove the platform?
Yes. To me, it hurts. If you're trying to promote a cause, then you should stay in front of the cameras and the microphones for as long as possible. Absolutely. And I think LeBron gets that.
I think he always has.
Kyrie, not so much. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when we come back on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Dak's done the right thing. He's won games. He's the starting quarterback of the Cowboys. The idea, though, that you got to pay him for, hey, you would have been paying him. He's a first-round pick, $7 million. He was making, less than $1 million. That's not the way it works. For him, yeah, he was fourth-round pick. He got screwed. Part of the reason he was fourth-round pick was he got a DUI before the NFL draft.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. I'd like to tell you that I'm the best AC mechanic in my company, but I'd be lying to you. I think my NATE certified mechanic team hides my tools from me so I don't hurt myself. You see, I'm the old guy, and I've been doing this work since I was a kid with my dad. Our younger staff are really the best mechanics in this business, and they've been through years of training and years of testing, with continuing education to keep up to date on the latest and greatest things in the air conditioning world. All companies brag about their experience, and we certainly have that, but we're most proud of our team being on the cutting edge and the leaders in technology and application of the modern air conditioning equipment. That's why we've been voted best air conditioning company in Southwest Florida year after year in the news press polls. It's not me, it's the best team of NATE certified mechanics ever assembled. Call 239-482-1542 and experience the best. License CACO 57313.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239
Google it, Chuck.
1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
When we talk the talk, this is what we talk about.
He's talking about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk
Apparently,
the
Clay
talk,
Travis hired Whitlock.
I saw that.
Talk about.
We back it up. Good sports talk radio on Fox Sports Radio.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Where I'm from, marijuana is legal. Can I use it in Florida?
Nah, it's illegal here.
Nah.
20 grams or less is a misdemeanor, and more than 20 grams is a felony.
Well, I have epilepsy. Should I try to get a medical marijuana prescription?
Now that's legal, but talk to your doctor first to see if it's a qualifying condition and if medical marijuana is even right for you.
I will, thanks.
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot pain get back to doing what they love without their feet getting in the way. Call 552-FEET or visit us at the Good Feet store in Naples or our newest location in Fort Myers.
Cathedral Roofing Innovations. Now, Hurricane Irma was a long time ago, but believe it or not, problems with tile roofs, they continue to occur as a result. Now, many homeowners are just now feeling the effects of the hidden damage that occurred to their tile roof. Now, whether it's new leaks, cracked, unsecured tiles, these roofs are living on borrowed time. Now, tile roofs, by nature of their design, are susceptible to lift and powerful storms like hurricanes. When this occurs, your tile underlayment can be compromised, but you would not realize it until possibly years later. Now, with Cathedral Roofing Innovations, you get a great roofing company to inspect your roof for any damage, and just because you don't have leaks doesn't mean you don't have issues. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. They are the tile experts in Naples, and they will start the inspection process right away. Just go to cathedralroofingnaples.com. cathedralroofingnaples.com.
License number CCC 1331928.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
$11 minutes before 8 o'clock, Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Ron Syrak to talk a little golf coming up after the top of the hour. Kicking around today, whether it's baseball and how the players are done with the owners. They're like, fine, we're done talking to you. Tell us where and when to show up for spring training, how many games we're going to play. We'll see you in court. You owe us money. All right. We're done. We're done talking. Whether it's Ohio State and a few other colleges who have made players sign what looks like a waiver, but it's not a liability waiver. It's like, this is how we're going to go about going forward with the coronavirus and all that. And in Ohio State's case, every single player and their parents have signed the form. And we asked you, if you were a parent of a football player, would you sign the form? It is not a liability waiver. It's just explaining their rules and how they're going to go about, battling the coronavirus while also trying to get ready for a college football season. We'll talk NBA with Keith Smith at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. Between now and then, time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
All right. Today we start 1923. British Open at Troon. Arthur Havers holes a bunker shot on the 72nd hole. to win his only major title, beating Walter Hagen by 1 shot.
So he pulled the Bob Tway?
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, if you're going to win one, isn't that the way to do it?
Well, and in the 20s of all the golfers for you to beat.
Right.
I mean, if it
That's
wasn't
beating
Bobby
Nicklaus.
Jones.
I mean, that's beating Nicklaus.
Right. If it wasn't Bobby Jones, Hagen would be the guy to beat.
1928, Ty Cobb at 41 steals home for the 50th and final time. 1938, first night game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. The Reds blanked the Dodgers 6-spit. Johnny Vandermeer has his second no-hitter in that game. I think it was the lights, David.
Intimate ballpark, only held about 32,000 Ebbets Field.
1965, Bob Dylan would record Like a Rolling Stone. Don't know how that did. Denny McClain in 65 is in a relief duty. Strikes out the first 7 batters faced. Strikes out 14 in 6 2/3, and Bill Freehan ties a catcher record with 19 putouts. 1969, 2 things happened. Orville Moody wins the U.S. Open for his only major title in the debut on CBS of Hee Haw.
I loved Hee Haw. Absolutely loved it.
Were you picking or were you grinning?
I was a Roy Clark fan.
I mean, that was what you... Was it after 60 Minutes or before?
No, it was... Well...
Wasn't it Sunday
before.
night forever?
See, it's funny. I remember it on Saturday night. Now, that might have been in syndication, and because I know when I first started in local television, it was on a CBS affiliate in Scranton, and following our 6:30 Saturday news was Hee Haw.
Okay.
From 7 to 8.
1974, All the President's Men was published. 1976, a rainout at the Astrodomes. Heavy rains in Houston made it difficult for the visiting team and umpires to get through the flooded streets.
Think about that.
Why I kept it in this. Of all the stories today, that one made me smile the most.
You know what's amazing is they still have not gotten rid of it. They just can't. The folks of Houston, the Astrodome meant so much to them as to what it did for the city and put them in a lot of ways. It garnered the attention of the nation and put them on the map, that they've not imploded it. It's just sitting there. Hasn't been used in over 20 years.
1980 at Baltusrol, Nicklaus goes 8 under to win his 4th Open, 2 strokes ahead of Isao Aoki.
My favorite part of that was Tom Weiskopf shoots an opening round 63, 7 under at the time at Baltusrol. And he's leading, of course. I mean, it ties the lowest round ever in a major. And Tom, who went to Ohio State, played in Nicklaus's shadow, the whole deal. By the time Weiskopf got done in the press tent, Jack had shot 63 in the first round. Weiskopf, one of the media members told him, "Hey, you're tied with Jack." And Weiskopf looked at him like, "Are you blanking kidding me?
Just played the round of my life, and I'm tied for first."
Jack wouldn't even Jack let him have an hour.
Weiskopf was always my dad's favorite golfer. You know, he was a non-Nicklaus guy, loved Weiskopf, and so I, always would hear the Tom Weiskopf stories. 1984, Tommy Hearns, KO's Roberto Duran in 2.
Some great names there. What a great division that was. My goodness.
86 at Shinnecock, Ray Floyd wins his 4th and final major. 97, Ernie Els wins his 2nd, beating Colin Montgomery by 1. 2001, Lakers beat the Sixers in 5. 04, Pistons beat the Lakers in 5. 2011, the Bruins end their 39-year Cup drought with a Game 7 win over the Vancouver Canucks.
On the road.
Yes. 2014, the Spurs beat the Heat in 5. If you were born today, well, you share your birthday, first off, with Waylon Jennings. I mean, that's a pretty good start, born today in 1937. Jim Belushi, born today in 1954. Actress Helen Hunt, born in 63. Courtney Cox, born the year after that. And Ice Cube is celebrating his 51st birthday today. If you wanted to feel old, Ice Cube's 51.
So that's one of those that does it for you? That
Kinda.
makes you feel old?
For Ice Cube, today was a good day, David. You don't know that song, but others do. They get it. That is
Gotcha.
Today was a day when? Today, June 15th.
Nice of you to still be trendy and current, Mark.
Oh, I'm not trendy. I can just
more
read
so
copy.
than I am. More so than I am. Ron Cyrack talking a little golf coming up in about 5 minutes' time. And Keith Smith next hour to talk a little NBA. We're going to come up with a poll question?
Go right. Feel free.
Or is this bourbon hangover just, taking you out of the loop today?
David, the only thing that I want to do right now is take a nap. I could not give two blanks about a poll question right now. So whatever you want to do, what you want to do, the mask question, you want to do whatever other question you had. You've had like three. You actually set a poll question about the Ohio State thing that's not up. So I've had no problem typing that.
All right. Just got a text from somebody that said, in fact, they're so emotionally tied to the Astrodome, they just approved the over $100 million renovation of it.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Hey, it means a lot to them. I know they still have the amusement park there, Astro World. I went to it.
Astro World?
Astro World, right in the parking lot.
Is
there.
Astro the dog from the Jetsons anywhere in Astro World?
No. Miller and Moulton. Ron
Hello,
Cyrack
George.
is next.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men with low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
Calling your quarantine. And we move now to the couch where this match is set to take place. The first spoonful of ice cream shoveled in, maybe a little too fast. We could have a brain freeze situation here. Cannot fill the void of baseball. And after making quick work of the dishes, she turns to, oh, wait. We'll get back to the ballpark. The cat was settled by her feet. Eventually. Look out below. She's going down. A message of hope from Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
The sports station with balls and strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida.
I asked Frank if he'd do the last hour. He said no. I asked Maddie if she'd do the last hour. She said no.
C4MH.com.
No one cares. Let's call Ron.
Ron Cyrack.
Good morning, Ron. Mark Miller in Southwest Florida. How are you?
I'm doing great. Ready whenever you guys are.
We are about 30, 45 seconds away from going on. As always, we appreciate your time. David will go first. I will go second.
Ron, are you traveling? Ron, are you traveling?
No, I'm home.
Okay.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
Really upset that my daughter will not read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish on Twitch because I needed content. That's what we've come to.
And Moulton.
Well, we need to explain to her the pilot program, and we need 25 hours of programming a week. So you need to deliver your 12 minutes a day, 5 times a week, because that's an hour, honey.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past 8 o'clock on this Monday morning, the 15th of June, thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Keith Smith covers the NBA for NBC Sports and Yahoo. He'll join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Which way are the NBA players going to go? Are they going to play, or are they not going to play? And there was a big conference call about that on Friday night. They are playing golf again, and Ron Sirak is back covering it for the Golf Channel and Global Golf Post. You can follow Ron on Twitter at Ron Sirak, Sirak. Ron, hope you are well. How are you?
Well, I was thinking this is the first time I've been home on Father's Day week since 1987.
Wow.
Usually today I'd be wherever the U.S. Open was going to be this week.
Right.
Yep. My first 2 U.S. Opens, 88 and 89, were both won by Curtis Strange, who's got some ties down Naples way.
Yep.
And strange for me now is that all these years later, he's now a friend of mine. And every year when I'm down there for the LPGA CME Tour Championship, usually have dinner out at Sarah and Curtis's place. And But 1987 was the last time I was home this week.
Holy cow, Ron. I was a senior in high school. I just graduated high school when that happened. I mean, that is, and I'm an old man now, so that baffled me right off the bat. One, on that, are you okay with it? I mean, just personally, how weird is this for you not to be covering a U.S. Open? And just personally, are you okay with being home this week?
Well, this is the fewest miles I've traveled since 1986, and it's that is odd, and I do miss. This was supposed to be my 31st Masters this year. Hopefully that'll happen in November. It's been a part of my routine for so long that there is a big void there. There is a big gap there. I don't miss the travel all that much, but boy, I miss being at tournaments. I miss that adrenaline rush of writing on deadline on a Sunday night when the tournament's over. One of my favorite sounds is being in a press room and the last putt sunk and the interviews are done. And you sit there and you can close your eyes and you can just hear dozens of other people typing away on their keyboards. And that's when I hear that sound, that's where I know that I'm on the job and I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Well, and Ron, that is part of what was missing from the weekend in Fort Worth. Was normally there is an adrenaline rush. There is a crowd noise. There's a murmur down the stretch of what was a terrific golf tournament. Great field, about 8 golfers separated by a shot coming down the stretch. From your vantage point, did it feel right? Did it look right? Did it work?
Well, the golf was good, but I do think the crowds were missing. There was a shot, I watched a lot of it on TV, and I was talking to a friend that I had there, and, there was only a dozen people in the media center because they had limits on what was going on in there. But there was a shot Gary Woodland hit. I think it was Friday. He missed the 9th fairway way to the right. and he hit about 180 yards sweeping hook over the trees, over water to about 12 feet. And you miss the reaction from the crowd. You know, it's like, wow, that was an incredible golf shot. And I watched it. I watched the replay on social media about 6 times to really appreciate how good of a shot it was. But you missed that affirmation from the crowd, and you wondered how that impacted some players. I think there are some players who like playing in isolation, but there are definitely other players who feed off the energy of the crowd. You wonder yesterday when Rory McIlroy's round was going south on the front 9, you know, would the crowd have gotten him back into it? Would it have been easier for him to get back re-engaged with playing good golf? You know, that's an adjustment for everybody.
It really is. And what were your expectations of the coverage? And what, after watching, do you think you got any more than you normally do? I mean, they mic'd up a couple of guys. I thought there was a couple of funny instances. I think it was Spieth on Thursday or Friday made a hell of a 5, and he was all over the place and makes like a 14-footer. And Fowler had missed, or I think he made a 10-footer, and Fowler missed a 14-footer for birdie, and they walked off, and you can hear, I think it was Spieth, he said, nice 5, Rick. And I thought that was hysterical, because that's just normal, you know, busting chops on a golf course. But do you think the coverage gave us anything that we normally weren't getting?
I think they were trying. You know, they set up a microphone between number 9 and number 10, and players would sort of talk as they were walking through, and that was showed on delayed tape, and I think that was a good idea, because one thing that I've learned from times when players are mic'd on the golf course, they don't always say interesting things. You know, they can be boring, they can be annoying. You know, I mean, geez, there are times when I've wanted to shout out to Jordan Spieth and his caddy Michael Greller, you know, just shut up and get on with the game, you know, and quit talking so much. So I do think that it's going to be a tough sell to get the players on board, all the players on board, to want to talk. Some of them would love it. Phil Mickelson would love it. You know, he likes being out there. I don't think Tiger Woods would love it. But they are going to have to, players are going to have to make concessions that way and be a little bit more cooperative, like do the talking they were doing while they were on the golf course. That never happens at a PGA Tour event, where players are going to be willing to be interviewed while the round's going on. But in this time, they're going to have to give added value to the TV network, because TV is going to have fewer bells and whistles at their disposal. They're going to have fewer reporters on the ground there. They're going to have fewer interactions with players after the round's over. But I thought, by and large, the players were almost to a man quite cooperative with the coverage plans.
I think they were thrilled to be back. So I think for the first few weeks that they will cooperate. He's Ron Sirak. He's kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Follow Ron on Twitter at Ron Sirak, Sirak. Well, you mentioned Spieth, and let's be honest. He's an interesting guy because he was at the top of the golf mountain, and now he's kind of fallen. And we saw everything that Jordan has to offer, good, bad, and ugly, over the course of this tournament. He had it going. I mean, on Saturday, Ron, he's got a one-shot lead, and he's got 81 yards into a par 4. 81 yards. He makes bogey, misses a 5-footer for birdie on the next hole, and basically Jordan Spieth, for all intents and purposes, doesn't contend on Sunday. He was kind of just you know, at arm's length for most of Sunday. I mean, it's funny, for a guy who was such a great closer from 2015 through 2017, he's got a weekend problem now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and it's been going on for a while, and a big part of that problem has strangely been what used to be the strongest club in his bag, the putter. You know, he still makes more 25-foot putts than almost anybody out there, but boy, he misses more than his fair share of 5-foot putts. You know, there are very few golfers that sometimes good things can happen too soon to players, and that could certainly have been the case with Jordan Spieth. people were tripping. And remember, when he came along, it was during one of Tiger's lulls, and everybody was looking for the next Tiger Woods, and he became anointed with that. And man, that burden has backfired on Jordan Spieth. It's backfired on Rory McIlroy. It backfired on Justin Thomas. I mean, maybe it's going to backfire on Brooks Koepka. But Tiger Woods is the only person who achieved a lot at a young age, and it didn't bring him down. He fed off of it, and he got better and he got better. What I worry about with Jordan Spieth is that when the putter's the strongest club in your bag, and when the putter goes south, I've seen that happen to other players, and they rarely get it back. I think of Johnny Miller. I think of Nick Faldo. I think of Tom Watson, who were really, really good putters. And then when they lost that putting stroke, they never really got it back. They struggled with it for the rest of their careers.
Well, it was an interesting tournament that with no crowd. On that note, there were a lot of short putts missed, towards the end. Schauffele missed a couple. I mean, guys were missing putts. And with no crowd, that kind of surprised me more. Did it surprise you at all that guys were, I don't know if tentative or, a little bit of yips, a little bit of nervousness, whatever it was. But were you surprised at the number of shorties that were missed yesterday?
The only answer that I could think of that is that they're used to playing that golf course in May, and maybe just that sort of month difference might create different weather situations, and those greens may have been getting a little bumpy or a little harder to read coming down the stretch. But it certainly was true. I mean, we saw Morikawa miss that. It was a 3-footer that cost him the tournament right there. There were a lot of missed short putts coming down the stretch. Maybe it could be the fact that they'd been away from competition for 90 days. But it could also have been, it could be conditions of the golf course too, that there's a reason that we haven't had a U.S. Open in Texas in a very, very, very long time. I think that they played the 1941 U.S. Open at Colonial. It's because of how hot and humid it is down there and how hard it is to keep the golf course in U.S. Open quality playing condition.
And for the first 3 days, though, conditions were relatively mild. The wind did blow a little bit yesterday, the normal 15-mile-an-hour wind with occasional gusts, and it's why the course, for the most part, played a little harder. Speaking of Morikawa, I heard somebody over the weekend say he's the best iron player since Tiger. That's pretty heady praise right there, but I will say he did seem to fire it at the stick all weekend. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Well, there's look. I'm in this camp that the only person who can probably be compared to Tiger in any sort of way are people who came well before him. Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan, and not anybody afterwards. But Morikawa's iron play is impressive, and so's his composure out there. For a young guy, he really plays very, very consistent golf. And when you hit irons as well as he does, it's going to keep you in every hole. And, there's a reason that he makes every cut out there now, and which is he does not play his way out of golf tournaments. And I think what happened to him yesterday, I thought he was going to win the tournament. And I think what happened to him was just a blip. I think it's something that he's going to build on and learn from. And we're going to see him in the winner's circle in the not too distant future.
Ron, that was a hell of a leaderboard yesterday. I mean, for those that, and David mentioned Tiger, and I loved your statement that the guys that you compared to Tiger all played before him. But you're right. When Spieth had that run, we were all looking for the next Tiger. I'm of the opinion it's going to be really tough, and hopefully we get another great player in the next 20, 30 years. But this tour's set up. I mean, that leaderboard yesterday, when it came on at, whether you started at noon on the Golf Channel or 3 on CBS, when that leaderboard came on, you just kind of looked and went, damn, they're all playing. I mean, I think golf's in a great spot right now with the light being shined on the sport for a month before anybody really does anything other than a couple of horse races and a couple of car races. this sport's primed, and it looks as if the players are all gung-ho about playing events. And fortunately, most of the big boys played pretty damn well.
Golf reminds me a lot right now of the situation that it was in when I first started covering major championships, when I was at that 1988 U.S. Open at the Country Club in Brookline, that won by Curtis Strange. We were between Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. We were between transformative players, players who were just generational players. And what we had was a lot of really incredibly talented players out there. Curtis Strange and Nick Price and Greg Norman and Nick Faldo and Ernie Els was coming along, and just all this real depth of talent without the one breakout player. And at that time, I remember in '86 when Nicklaus won the Masters at the age of 46, people were saying, never going to be another Jack Nicklaus. There's too much parity out there right now, too much talent. No one's ever going to dominate the way Nicklaus did. And 10 years later, we had Tiger Woods. So greatness always comes along. That player, that transformative player, may not be there on the radar screen right now, probably isn't. But what we have is 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 players who are all worthy of being considered the best in the world right now. And that's going to make for a lot of really exciting competition in the coming weeks and maybe in the next few years.
Ron, what do you make of DeChambeau? I mean, it reminds me, quite frankly, of the baseball player in the late 80s who during an off season, I mean, I remember Lenny Dykstra showing up at spring training 25 pounds heavier. And, you know, he said, oh, I was working out. And, you know, we all know now that that was not the case. DeChambeau claims he worked out 3 times a day for 3 months. He put on 30 plus pounds. He looks like an entirely different person. It's amazing it didn't mess up his swing at all, because we see it a lot of times when guys gain weight or lose weight. They don't swing it quite the same. He darn near was in the playoff. But what's your take on DeChambeau?
You know, early on, when he first came on the scene, I was a cynic about him. I thought, this guy's overthinking things. This is not going to work. He's not going to be successful out here. And then he was successful out there. He won golf tournaments and he was in contention a lot. And I thought, all right, well, what he's doing may not work for everybody, but it may work for him. Now I'm worried that I might be back to my original assessment, and maybe he does overthink things too much, and maybe putting on all this weight, all this muscle, it was a road he did not need to go down. You know, there are guys out there who weigh 165 pounds who hit the golf ball 330 yards. Muscle is not always the answer when it comes to golf, and he may prove me wrong. Again, he may turn out to get to where bulking up the way that he did is going to be a good thing for him, but he's going to have to prove that to me. As I said, I felt from the beginning his tragic flaw might be that he overthinks things, and he's got to show me that's not the case.
Ron, always appreciate your time and your insight. When you do start traveling again, safe travels.
I look forward to talking to you anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ron Sirak, who's a contributor to the Golf Channel. You can follow Ron on Twitter at Ron Sirak, S-I-R-A-K. Ron Sirak, kind enough to join us. And like he said, Mark, at the beginning, this would be U.S. Open week. And in 3 months, they're still scheduled to do this Winged Foot thing. Don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of people there, but the U.S. Open's going to happen at Winged Foot. At least that's what we're led to believe.
You know, David, you have had a couple of moments in our return since your surgery in which you've just said, man, I need sports right now. Today's the day where I'm expecting to watch sports. It's bothering me. This weekend, Saturday, was the first time that hit me, because my mom and I talked on Saturday, and she's like, well, I was going to pop by your place on Sunday for Father's Day. And, of course, my first thought was, great, because what I want is to be around more people on Father's Day. I don't want to be left alone to watch television. And that's when it hit me. She goes, well, what are you doing for Father's Day? I go, I don't know. Usually I'm sitting on my fat ass watching the U.S. Open wanting not to be bothered. And that's not going to happen. So that's, right, from a sports standpoint, Sunday might get to me a little bit the first time. But DeChambeau, as you brought up at the end of that, Had a long conversation about him yesterday. There's one of the shows on the Golf Channel that gets a little more in-depth, kind of almost for the real good golfer, that they went in-depth about DeChambeau's swing. And we were talking about it yesterday because if you think about it, your swing path changes with every club you swing. They're longer. So you don't, your arch of your spine is different from a sand wedge to a driver. There's so much about what DeChambeau does that makes sense. And I actually brought up the point to my golf pro friend who was here. I said, it's so striking to me because we think whether it's Tin Cup, where he breaks every club but the 7-iron, whether it's you with Danielson, your little thing with Gary is that if you think Gary's getting way too out there on a topic, you simply write 7-iron on a card. And that comes from you wanting to be John Vandevelde caddy at the British Open, which you said you would have broken every club in his bag and handed him the 7-iron and said, go win the damn tournament.
Right.
And
when
yet
he got away with that tee shot, I literally just would have handed him a club, and I said, no, you know, and would have walked away. I literally would have just
I'll
started
meet you at
walking
the
down
green with the
fairway.
putter.
Yeah. 2 7-irons, 3 putt, we're out of here.
Right. And I only bring that, you know, with you and Gary and Vandevelde, but that's the club. What do we all grab at the range when things are going badly? You grab the damn 7-iron. And why he gets so much crap about something that, to me, makes so much sense is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, the bulking up's a whole nother side thing because he looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I will say he seemed to swing so much harder than I remembered him swinging. I felt as if he was always swinging out of his shoes this weekend, but I got to be honest, man, he played great.
Yeah.
I mean, he missed a bunch of putts and was one shot out of the playoff. I mean, he played really well. Hey, we know Southwest Florida's Gulf Shore strong. And as your businesses reopen and you try to get back to normalcy, we want to hear from you. Give us a holler, 479-5577. 479-5577. And, well, tell us the name and location of your business, and we'll let people know you're back. We're rooting for you, Southwest Florida. No one rooting for you more than us here at Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. So leave a short message, 479-5577. Let us know who and where you are and that you're back, and we'll try to give you a little pub. We know everybody needs a little bit of help right now, so we're just trying to do our part. Keith Smith, he covers the NBA for Yahoo and NBC. He will join us on the other side. The good, the bad, and the ugly is about 25 minutes away. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
There are times when we do this.
It is a crazy, crazy day.
Crazy. There are other times when we do this.
I would never be doing something to make me look stupid. I mean, on purpose.
And then there are times when we do this.
Can we all agree now? Yes!
No.
It's not possible.
No.
When these times go down, you know you'll find it here on Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with my Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. Kobe Cooling is looking for experienced installers. We're hiring right now for experienced install crews, full-time work with top pay, top benefits, a 401k plan with matching monies, paid vacation, and plenty of work. As the oldest family in this business in the area, we're busy and we need your help. So if you're an experienced air conditioning installer, please apply in person at 4697 Elevation Way in Fort Myers.
They're liars, Johnny. That's all I'm telling you. All those bourbons lied to me. They said I'd feel great this morning. Everyone told me that yesterday.
FredKobe@AOL.com.
All liars.
That's FredKobie@AOL.com. Come join the best team in Southwest Florida, Kobe Cooling. Kobe, the most trusted name in this business since 1949.
Across the nation, America is moving forward.
All of this Kentucky Owl stuff is quite lovely.
Continues to open up. Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So, we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives, 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable?
How far out are we?
Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
105.9 Naples.
Let's face
We're a minute away now, a minute and a half away now, Jero?
Two
minutes.
Okay. Arch, there is no damn way. All I want to do, I asked the dog at the 8 o'clock break if he would do the final hour of the show so I could go back to bed. He refused. Asked my daughter, who's watching videos. She'd do the last hour of the show. She refused.
And the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much
National Bourbon Day is going to be celebrated on a Saturday from this point going forward. That's all I'm telling you.
There you go.
The terrible.
Even if it's on a Tuesday.
Right, even if it's on a Tuesday, we're celebrating it on Saturday.
And recently, I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood, too. C4MH.com's express treatment. And above all,
What he said.
with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one
Hello.
near you right now.
Keith, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very well. Mark Miller and David Moulton in Southwest Florida. As always, thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. We're about 30 seconds away from going on here.
Okay, sounds good.
Keith, are you in Orlando?
I am, yes.
That's what I thought.
Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease. 0 down, $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. 0 down, $269 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 4 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you. Below invoice employee pricing at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 monthly sum, 10,000 miles per year, 0 to 8 signing plus tax, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month, per thousand borrowed for 72 months at 0 APR with 0 down with lender approval.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"28 minutes past 8 o'clock on this Monday edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, the good, the bad, and the ugly in roughly 20 minutes time. It's a pleasure to welcome back Keith Smith. He covers the NBA for NBC Sports, Yahoo, and RealGM.com. RealGM.com. You can follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
All right. As best you can gauge, what is the level of discontent with the players and this Orlando plan where the league is going to be, well, quite restrictive in terms of where the players can go and what they can do over the 2-3 months that they're there? What is the level of discontent?
Yeah, there's definitely some, and it's kind of all over the place. You have some players who are not happy with the idea that the plan is not a true bubble, that, it's not going to be everybody's in there, and then that's it. You get out, and that's it. It's over with there. And then you have on the flip side, there are players who are, I don't want to be trapped in one place for 3 months. I want to be able to go out and do my thing and move around a lot more. So that's something that they're having to work through right now and figure that out. And those details should be out later this week, maybe as soon as the next couple of days. This is exactly what the planned protocols are. And then from there, it's not all the way back to the negotiating table, but it's, what do we think? What do we need to tweak? What do we need to adjust from there?
All right. The latest developments of Kyrie Irving not wanting to play and others maybe joining him. Do you think that, and I've said the whole show, I'm a 50-year-old white guy. I don't have a lot that I can say on this, but I do think having the ability to have your platform and speak whenever you want is advantageous. I think by not playing, you lose that platform. Do you think there's any water to what's going on with this revolt?
Yeah, I think there is. I think this was the opportunity. Well, I think one player put it really well was, I don't care for him as the messenger, but I do care about the message. And I think that's the important thing is there are definitely questions that are being raised now about, do they, put too much of a distraction?
Are we kind of losing?
And a lot of people are saying, why weren't they saying this, 3 weeks ago? And those built and gone on. So these are questions that are, more at the forefront now than they have ever been at this point. And then, people invariably throw back, well, they already approved to play, so they can't go back on it. Well, what they actually approved was the structure, that there would be 22 teams, there'd be play-ins, there'd be 8 games, there would be, full playoffs at a single site. They did not approve all of the, details and agreements around saying, yes, we are playing. So that's, been a little bit of a, misunderstanding there, myself included, initially was, okay, now I get what they actually approved. And the MBPA made it very clear, this is what we approved. So now ultimately, is that going to make enough of a difference for guys to say, yeah, I don't want to play? Sure, there may be a small handful, but, there's enough players who are also coming out and saying, well, maybe the best thing we can do is play, and maybe we can negotiate something with the NBA to really, more than just games mattering on the court and in the standings, and as far as winning a title, we can make our entire time there matter even more. And I think that's, where we're going to start seeing progress towards here over the next week or so.
Keith, though, ultimately, and first off, let's just say, for argument's sake, that a majority of the players really don't want to play for any number of reasons. But financially, and I'm not just talking about the money that they'll miss out on for not playing the rest of this season, but my understanding is they don't play. The amount of revenue that will be lost will affect the salary cap going forward significantly, 20 plus million a team for the next couple years. I mean, don't you think that ultimately this is just going to be a business decision?
Yeah, and there's definitely guys who are saying that too. Chris Paul reportedly was making sure, hey, I understand if you don't want to play for various reasons, but let's make sure we make that decision with all of the information possible. Let's make sure we all understand what's at stake here. What's at stake for the rest of this season? Roughly $1 billion for everybody, for the league, the players, the owners, the teams, everybody. Then what you're going to see after that is it's more than just the salary cap being impacted. What's going to happen is the owners are going to, if they don't play, they're going to enact the force majeure clause. They're going to tear up the CBA, and they're not going to be to a 50-50 split this next time around. We see this every time in negotiations. The players union, they have power, but you're dealing with quite often billionaires who own these teams that are, a lot of times they're a hobby or a side business for a lot of these guys. So what they do is they hold firm, and it's going to be, it's not going to be a 50-50 split if they have to redo the CBA. And that's what I think some of the senior leaders, players who've been around a while, some of the agents, some of the members of the Players Association trying to counsel guys on is, if you don't want to play, we get it. We fully understand. But let's make sure this decision is being made with the full understanding of what is at stake here. And that's, something that, that bigger picture, I think, is for sometimes, it's getting overlooked or getting lost a little bit from the financial side. Now, from the cause side, nobody can tell them what to feel except for themselves, and nobody should attempt to. And if they decide, that financial risk is one worth taking to, take a stand and make our, voices heard on this matter, then that's, perfectly fair. No one can criticize them for that.
All right, Keith, help me with the optics. David and I have been discussing this for the better part of a week. Disney opens mid-July. Disney. You live in Orlando. A few people go there. They're going to be playing basketball in Orlando with no fans. From an optics standpoint, isn't it, to say, for lack of a better term, really strange?
No, I don't think so. I think you're separating things. here into two different things. Is one, Disney is reopening their theme parks and saying, come to our parks. Now it's not going to be, what it would normally be. And I worked for Disney for nearly 20 years, so I can, speak pretty intelligently on this. A mid-July crowd in the summertime at the Magic Kingdom is generally going to be 60,000 people. It's going to be maybe 20,000 or so capped out with that. But what they're going to do is the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex, it's pretty far away from the theme parks. It's at the extreme southern end of the property, and they are going to have that thing set up so that no one gets in there that doesn't need to be in there. It's going to be MLS because they're already moving forward and chugging along to play there, and it's going to be NBA. No one else gets near there, and that's the way it should be. If that's what those leagues need to feel good about, especially the NBA in indoor environments where it's a bunch of people crammed into a space, you want to limit that as much as possible for the health and safety of everyone.
Keith, what is it that you are going to have to endure? I followed Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press, and he's based out of Miami, and he covers the Heat extensively. And it sounds like are you going to be able to stay in your house and cover the NBA, or are you going to have to agree to stay on the grounds?
Yeah, staying on the ground, I can tell you for me, that's out of the picture. Any of the outlets that I am, still with, unfortunately, I've been furloughed by a few of them. But any of the ones I'm still with it's too cost prohibitive. It's sounds like at this point, it's going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 per writer, because you're housed for a 3.5 month period, as well as, all of your food is covered for that time, and anything else, that's all going to be covered while you're there. And that's going to be a challenge for a lot of these outlets to put together to send someone. The reality is 50 to 60,000. That's an entire salary for a person for a year. So that's a challenge. Now there is going to be a second tier of media as well. That first group that stays on site will have full access to the players and the coaches and everybody. The second tier, what they're going to have the ability to do is come and go, but they're going to be there to basically cover games and do gamers. And the question that's being asked around a lot of places is that even worth it? If you're not going to have that access, is it going to be any different than covering the games from your couch, wherever you are? Because especially for those out of town folks, you still need to pay for a hotel. You're still going to have to cover their food and incidentals and the like while they're here. And that's just too cost prohibitive for, any one outlet to send somebody somewhere for 3.5 months when the access may not be any different from what they could get if they just stayed home.
Boy, you said it there. I mean, that's a senior writer salary for a newspaper these days. I mean, that's not an entry-level job. That's 3 years of entry-level salary in that business to cover the 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months that they're doing this. Who is the burden then going to be on? Because you're still going to cover it. There's going to be a lot of people that aren't there. How difficult, just from a logistics standpoint, is this going to be for the behind-the-scenes people in the NBA?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different, because what you're going to have is, your coaches' press conferences and then the player press conferences. They're going to be via Zoom or some other, telecommunications, program, company, app, whatever you want to call it. And that's how it'll be set up. And I think we're getting pretty used to that. We're doing a lot of those with players and coaches now, learning how to do this job remotely. The folks that are on the ground, of course, they're going to be the ones who can, sidle up beside somebody and, hey, how's it going? I wanted to talk about X, Y, and Z, and and have that conversation, because they're going to be there with them. And there's let's face it, there's going to be a lot of that downtime where they're just kind of hanging out at times, and that's going to be a different thing from what the rest of us are getting. But for folks like me, it'll be watch the game on TV, cover it that way, which isn't all that different from being in the arena. Especially there's no fans, there's nothing like that. Now what will be different is, if you are in the arena, you're really going to be able to hear a lot more than even if you're sitting in press row. You can't always hear everything on the court because of fans and the crowd noise. So that'll be a little bit different, but it's definitely going to be a different experience. And the NBA is, they're going to be limited in the number of people they can bring per team. So you're already hearing, some people might be wearing multiple hats while they're there. They may be functioning as PR people, plus also, doing some of the behind the scenes footage for team sites and the like. So it's going to be, a different process for everybody.
He's Keith Smith. He covers the NBA. Follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. I've just thought of this. The anthem. There's been a rule on the books for a quarter century in the NBA. You have to stand for the anthem. You cannot protest it in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, with stuff that has gone on in the last 4 years, the NBA players, individually and collectively, have not tried to buck that rule. But we believe we're in different times. Do you think that the players will try to buck the rule that is on the books? And will the NBA change the rule the way that the U.S. Soccer Federation just did?
I think that there is a good chance that the NBA does something different this time around. Yeah, for example, where there's going to be multiple games played in the venues per day. What they do at NBA Summer League is they play the anthem once before the first game of the day, and then that's it. They don't play it, every time that there's a game. They don't do that. That's how they do that. So they may do that, and the players may choose, let's just stay in the locker room, because that is an option that has been open to them, is to just stay in the locker room. So we may see them do that and not even come out on the floor. But I think the NBA, they're a progressive league. They understand, that there is different things happening in the world now from when they put those rules into place. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to let the players, they'll work with the players, I guess is the better way to put it, of saying, what is the best way for us to, allow your voice to be heard here while also not, being very, openly disrespectful. Kneeling, we've seen multiple, folks who served in the military, folks who have, served their country say it's not disrespectful. What's disrespectful is if you sit or if you, do something, different while it's there. But if you're just kneeling, and kind of silently doing your thing, those players have come on, so they don't have an issue with that. So I think what we're going to see is something like that get put together where they try to get together and do something that can be, impactful for everybody to see and hear, as this goes on. Or they may just say, you know what, let's just skip it entirely, because there are some who are starting to question if that's an outdated practice. Does that need to happen before sporting events anyway that aren't on a national team level?
Interesting. But leave the summer out of it with that question, Keith. When we start playing Thanksgiving, Christmas, whenever the hell we're going to play the 2020-21 season, we're back in arenas. Everybody has fans again. We're going to be playing the anthem. And there's no more social justice league in our sports world than the NBA. They're at the height of it. So let's go back. Let's just fast forward to fans in the stands. Do you think the NBA will change its rule then?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance we're not going to see it played before sporting events. I think there are enough people who are questioning, why do we do this? It's teams generally outside of, the couple of teams that are outside of the United States in the various sports leagues, and National Hockey League being different. I understand there's several teams in Canada there, but why do we do this? Well, what is the point of this? Before every game, we all know where we are. It's two American teams that are playing each other. And there's always been the question of, it makes sense when it's a national team level, because then you're competing for your country. But when you are doing it, in a regular season game between, the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat, is this necessary? And I think we're going to see either change or it's something we just don't see and don't do anymore.
Keith, stay safe. And thanks so much for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Y'all stay safe, you and yours.
Keith Smith covers the NBA for a variety of outlets, NBC Sports, Yahoo, and RealGM.com. RealGM.com. Follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA, Keith Smith NBA. We talked a lot last week about golf and how it was going to be covered. First few events in the coronavirus era. And it's why we got into it a little bit with Keith there, and just in terms of how few media members are going to be there because of cost.
And you said that last week, and we didn't have a number, but I wasn't joking when I said that that's a new writer. That's 2 years. This is a cheap industry. It always has been. We don't do this for the money. We do it because we don't want to work for a living.
So imagine, I think Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press is going to be on site, but part of it is the AP is going to be calling it's around the state and they may be looking for a chip in from, some of the papers in Southwest Florida and the Bradenton, hey, can you chip in and help defer our costs here? And Mark, as we've talked about, I mean, if you're the News Press or the Naples Daily News, which now have the same owner, I mean, this is not a big NBA market. I mean, how much does it matter to you whether or not you're getting fresh copy on a daily basis from Tim Reynolds?
Hey, you're asking the wrong guy because I don't read newspapers. I don't. I haven't. The News Press and the Naples Daily News, in my opinion, aren't worth reading. And I love to have Dorsey on. He's doing some great. There are people who are doing great things, but by and large, as a paper, I don't think it's worth reading. I don't get anything out of it. So no, I wouldn't invest a dime if I were either of those papers. If AP said you got to chip in, I'd laugh at him.
Well, I don't feel the way you do about the local papers.
I know.
But that's okay. Even though they both fired me.
Right. They both fired you. You still love them. I never worked for either of them, and I think that they are, at best, bottom of a birdcage.
Keith Smith joined us here on Miller and Moulton. 14 minutes before the top of the hour. The good, the bad, and the ugly is next. The hungover edition. Here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Vic Fangio is the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and he had this to say.
I don't see racism at all in the NFL. I don't see discrimination in the NFL.
He does know where the NFL was trying to incentivize teams to bring in African-American coaches, and you would get a better draft pick. There is racism.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and Fox
That's
Sports
interesting what he said there, though. Do you think the NBA could dump the anthem? I mean, that's a great poll question, David.
Well, we're all trying to wash our hands.
Would you be bothered if the anthem wasn't played before games anymore? Would that bother
Are
you?
you also thinking about, all the germs?
Are you there or did you leave?
No one wants to think about that. So
You are
it
there.
may be a great time
But you don't have
to
headsets
consider
on.
LASIK. France Eye Care offering $1,000 off bilateral LASIK.
I was just having a conversation with nobody. Hi, welcome back. I didn't know you weren't there. I said that was fascinating that he said we may not have the anthem, period, going forward. I think that's a great poll question. A great poll question. Would you be offended if the anthem was no longer played before sporting events? I think it'd be our whole damn show in the days that we took calls.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Great. Have it be the poll question.
Well, the show's over. How about tomorrow?
Okay.
But do you find that fascinating at all?
Yes.
That I mean, he doubled down on that. There's some there. He kind of said that twice pretty emphatically.
Electrician. No, not that. I think I'm an AC man. Yeah.
I had somebody in the Williamson Brothers chat room. By the way, we got a beautiful picture from Bay Harbor, Maine this morning.
Oh.
Gorgeous picture.
Is that where Ron Styrek is?
No, that's where one of our listeners is. He said, greeting from Bar Harbor, Maine.
Cause incredible damage, and they're really just out to sell.
It's beautiful.
They make huge commissions, and they really have no clue as to what they're doing.
But
if you want your pool guy doing your dentistry work, you should pay him $20 too. My advice would be
someone complaining about the 8:46 a.m. made of silence by the PGA, and are you going to see the NFL NCAA pause with 8:46 left in the half? I said no, but they'll be kneeling. If you don't mind me asking, why do you have such a problem with the kneeling? And he gave a disrespectful of all men and women families of patriots who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. I said, even though it was a Green Beret who told Cap that he should kneel instead of sit. One person out of hundreds of thousands. And I just said, did you serve, sir? No. Okay.
Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit TowboatUSCapeCoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water. Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
I thought they just did the 8:46 thing on Thursday.
They did.
Right. They didn't do it Friday.
No.
Right.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up.
You are right.
Lifetime warranty.
David's got me reading the damn New York Post app more than I read any local paper because they actually write local I mean, even though it's New York, there's actually feeling in there. I'm with you. Miller and Moulton fan says there are maybe 20 newspapers that are worth reading.
Well, the Tampa Bay Times is one of them. It's a great paper.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store.
Here's the thing, though. Without a local paper, I mean, do you know how much corruption is going on in our everyday society now? If you didn't even have the threat of the local paper being able to do the freedom of information stuff and what have you, I mean, it would just be
from the best headlines.
A Wild Wild West.
It's the worst thing.
Not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's not much of a read.
And hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good today, we go to Chicago, where Hak Tong Kim is the owner of City Fashions. Says he lost everything after the looting. Looters stole $350,000 worth of merchandise. His daughter, Hannah, shared a heartfelt post on Facebook. She said, "My first-generation Korean parents worked blood, sweat, and tears to establish a proud business of their own. With insurance doesn't cover stolen goods or damages caused by looters. As such, my parents have lost their business in its entirety." The reason this is the good is that from that, the community stepped up with a GoFundMe page. In less than 2 weeks, they've raised over $200,000 to help the parents, help this girl's parents reopen their business.
Wow. That's remarkable.
For the bad, David, I think you will relate to this because many of us have left something on a plane, a rental car, a train, whatever, a phone, a wallet, headphones. And David, you've lost several items that are important to you, but not like this. Because one person in Switzerland has authorities, would very much like to speak with them because this person left a 3-kilogram bag of gold on the plane that was worth $191,000. The owner has 5 years to stake their claim at the prosecutor's office in the city. The discovery is only made public now after efforts to track down the owner were unsuccessful.
Okay, all right. So in other words, the gold was found, but no one's claiming it?
Correct. Someone left a $200,000 bag of gold on the train.
Okay. That at least comforts me.
I thought it would.
Here's what I never understand. Somebody leaves something. They leave a phone, say. Well, how could it not be in lost and found?
That's where this is.
Help me out here. So you call, you go, "Hey, do you have my phone?" No. What do you mean, no? It was sitting on the front seat of the rental car. The person who then comes in and cleans the car does what with the phone?
Sells the phone.
Give me a break. So at least the gold is there. Now someone has to claim it.
Finally, the ugly, we go to Madrid, where, I think some cities were better shut down than reopened. And Madrid may be one of them because now that they're back open, they had their 17th annual naked bike ride. Now, they did maintain social distance and kept the bicycles 6 feet apart. But they used the busy roads under the slogan, "Naked Before Traffic," as a protest for safer cycling. I already think that riding a bike violates the human in many ways. I don't think taking clothes off and riding a bike helps that situation whatsoever. And David, that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, June the 15th, in this wonderful year of 2020.
On March 107th.
Correct.
Right. You ever watch the show Naked and Afraid?
Once or twice.
Yeah, I'm not into it. All right. It's bad enough occasionally I have to see myself naked, never mind anybody else. There's only one person I'm trying to see naked, and that's a constant negotiation. But I'm with you on the whole, Madrid naked bicycling thing.
Yeah.
You see over the weekend in New Zealand that
fans
they had tens of thousands of people at their rugby matches. Yeah.
So I began the show by telling you Saturday night I was watching a little Aussie rules football, and I have a little problem with the way they're calling pass interference or whatever it is. But what was really ironic about it is that there are no fans except for rich fans. Some of the people in luxury boxes are allowed to go. And you want to talk about a weird scene. This largely empty stadium, of which they'll put 70,000 in for an Aussie rules football game. It is the sport there. And here are like 10 people cheering in a suite. It was the strangest damn thing I'd ever seen. I do love that they have like the Zoom watch parties. I think those are cool. Like I hope they do that with the NBA games, that they get people doing watch parties and you're seeing 12, 16 people all rooting for their team. Just to recognize the fan base, if you will.
Think they'll do that in college football, where they allow students to go because they have to, and that the first people they'll allow back will be the suite holders?
Yes.
Which, if you think about it, they're in tighter quarters. You would think that, from a coronavirus standpoint, those would be the last people.
I gotcha, but they're the ones who do what? Write the biggest checks.
Money, right.
I mean, it's funny you say that because I bought Bucks seats. I wonder, when they do it, are club seat holders going to have more of a preference than regular season ticket holders?
I would think so.
I certainly hope so.
Look at you. I certainly hope so. I've been a season ticket holder for an hour and a half.
No, David, I've been a club season ticket holder for an hour and a half.
Oh, that's right. Miller and Moulton. Thanks to David Sampson, Ron Cyrack, and Keith Smith for joining us on the show today. Pat Kerwin will be on the show tomorrow.
The Dan Patrick Show is next. You can always catch any part of the show that you missed on MillerandMoulton.com. Fox Sports Radio.
Hey, you guys have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow.
You too, Giro. Have a good one.